EDGYTIM here in the headquarters, and again, looks like IHSA sports are back on. In case you saw the breaking news, it just came out a little while ago. The IHSA has sent Stage 1 guidelines for the return to play, which will begin, surprisingly in a good way, starting tomorrow, Saturday, June 6th. So again, this released a little bit earlier today to all the athletic directors across the state of all the member schools, the guidelines that are going to be put in place. So what does this mean? Well, what it means is football programs are allowed to go back. They are allowed access on the school grounds, which of course had been closed during the entire pandemic. And really what we had talked about a couple weeks ago, that as far as what some of these restrictions would be, pretty much played out to what I had heard from a lot of the coaches around the state. So kind of run it down. Maintain social distancing. That's never going to change for a while. That's going to remain. So you have to follow those protocols. Safety. Again, as far as working out, you're able to do it in groups of 10 or smaller only. Those groups have to also follow social distancing. And importantly, once those groups are established, they cannot intermingle. So it's not like you can go in your group of 10, come back and gather as a group in the huddle. You can't do that. So, and even huddle, there is no specific, at least schools are not supposed to do any sport-specific drill work. No equipment, no footballs, no tackling dummies, no pads, no nothing are supposed to be used. What surprised me a little bit about this, and I think it's a positive to take away, they highly encourage outdoor activity, obviously trying to maintain as much social distancing as possible, but it does allow for weightlifting. So again, schools will be able to have access to the weight rooms for this, which I think is, again, makes sense and is an important part of this as well. Just trying to go through these guidelines. As I mentioned, groups of 10 or more must be predetermined. Once the groups are determined, as I mentioned, they cannot intermingle at all. They have to stay separate. Sessions, again, can include weightlifting, running, and exercises designed to promote physical fitness. And again, some of the coaches I just talked to, I mean, kind of this is what they expected, and they're 100% fine because, let's face it, and this is what's going to be really interesting about this now, the programs and the kids that continue to work out on their own and continue to do things and stay in shape, you're going to know right away if you're a coach. And those of you that didn't do what you were supposed to do while during this COVID, you're going to get found out right away as well. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of days for some programs compared to others. So I find that part of it very interesting. As I mentioned, sport-specific drills are not permitted. Sport-specific equipment not permitted. So as I mentioned, you're not going to have a football out there. You're not going to have tackling dummies. You're not going to have anything sport-specific at all. Coaches, and then there's various record keepings that have to happen, and it's extensive. So I know that I can't imagine coaches are thrilled to, again, more paperwork and have to follow through, but trust me, knowing the coaches, they would gladly do this to get back with their kids. And the biggest part of all this is it's a positive step. It's finally some sort of guideline we have to give us that initial step and follow to hopefully lead up to the fall, where all the fall sports can start their seasons on time, obviously including football, the sport we're most concerned with here. Players need to bring, and again, these are all on the front page of my website, players need to bring water bottles, towels, everything. They cannot intermingle using that stuff. They have to bring their own. And then obviously cleaning, a heavy emphasis for schools and programs on cleaning, multiple cleanings, making sure everything's cleaned and wiped down, keeping things as sanitary as possible during this. So bottom line is, it took a while, probably 2 weeks too long, but we finally have an approved guideline. We finally have schools allowed to open back up, and we finally have our athletes able to get back, start getting in shape. And again, I think an important part of this too is in a lot of ways, these athletes need to get back and just continue to work on conditioning. A lot of programs, a lot of kids haven't had access to weights for 3 months. So, just to get kids back and moving and getting those just getting a better feel and just getting in better shape and just kind of getting back to work. I think that's for all of us. It goes for all age groups. Just getting back into a routine and getting positive and just kind of rebuilding and getting to where you were at. I think that's what's huge about all this. So again, we're back. IHSA football, IHSA sports are allowed to go back starting Saturday tomorrow. Allowed to have strength and conditioning workouts. A 3-hour time period, which a couple of coaches I just talked to said they're even surprised for that length of time. But again, another coach said, every program is different sized, and if you're running groups of 10, it could be a lot to manage for your bigger schools and your bigger programs. And again, this isn't just football. This is multiple sports as well. So I kind of get the extended time frame during the day. But that's 3 hours per day. So again, hooray for us. Hooray for the IHSA. Hooray for the kids, most importantly, and the coaches as well. Game on, everybody. Talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. And, hey, go back to work.